Just listen to those words for a second. That's someone trying to make sense of a loss that honestly should never have happened. And that loss, it points to a much bigger and way more troubling story.
Okay, let's get right into it. We're going to break down this incredible Pulitzer Prize-winning investigation from the Better Government Association and the Chicago Tribune. And it asks a really fundamental question. In a major American city like Chicago, how are people still dying in fires that absolutely could have and should have been prevented?
You know, before we can even begin to unpack a systemic failure, we have to understand the human cost. Because this isn't just a story about data points or city codes. At its heart, it's a story about people.
This is Hairsting Burns. Her family described her as their rock, the person they could always count on. She was a mother, a grandmother, just a person full of life, who was actually getting ready to go to her own son's wedding reception.
But in April 2022, a fire changed everything. And the part that's just so hard to stomach is the chain of failures that led to her death. After the fire, investigators found no working smoke alarms. But here's the thing. This wasn't some big secret. The building had a long history of safety violations, and city inspectors had literally been there just 1 year before. The warning signs weren't just there, they were on paper, in the city's own records.
And Hersterstein's story, as absolutely heartbreaking as it is, well, it's not a one-off, not even close. What the investigation found was a deeply disturbing pattern of neglect all across the city.
Let that sentence just sink in for a minute. This is the gut punch finding of the entire investigation. It's not that these buildings were unknown dangers. The city was aware. The reports were filed. The warnings were in the system. They knew.
Just look at that number, 61. Between 2014 and 2019, 61 people died in fires in buildings where city officials had already been warned about dangerous conditions. I mean, this isn't a few cases slipping through the cracks. No way. This is a pattern of failure.
So with findings this damning, what was the official response? Well, when the investigation came out, the mayor at the time, Lori Lightfoot, pretty much dismissed the findings as old news, a problem from a past administration. Her actual quote was, "It's an interesting historical piece, but I have to deal with the here and now."
So, how does this keep happening? Well, you have to look at this massive gap between the problems themselves and the system that's supposed to fix them. On one side, you have life or death issues, faulty wiring, no smoke detectors, blocked exits. But the system to catch these things is almost entirely reactive. It basically waits for a tenant to call 311. That puts all the burden on residents who might be afraid of getting evicted. And even when they do call, the follow-through is spotty, and enforcement against bad landlords is often way too lenient.
So why do these dangerous situations just linger? Well, researchers actually have a name for the kind of housing where these tragedies happen most often, and it really helps explain why this is such a hidden crisis.
It's called underregulated housing. And look, this isn't just one type of building. Think of it more like a spectrum of risk. It includes places that are undermaintained, where things have just fallen apart. It includes properties that are under the radar, with illegal apartments the city doesn't even know exist. And it also includes vacant and abandoned buildings, where people seeking shelter are living with absolutely no safety features at all.
Now here's where it gets even more tragic. You take that unsafe housing and you layer on top of it human vulnerability, and the risk just explodes. This national data shows that older adults face a much, much higher risk of dying in a fire. For someone over 85, that risk is more than 3.5 times higher than average. They're often the ones living in these conditions, and they're the least able to escape when a fire starts.
You know what's truly haunting about all this? It's that this problem in Chicago is anything but new. The city has this long, tragic history of fires, followed by promises of reform, promises that just never seem to stick.
I mean, this timeline is just staggering. Back in 1958, a fire at the Our Lady of the Angels School killed 95 people. Afterwards, the head of the National Fire Protection Association said it was only old lessons that tragically went unheeded. That exact same phrase could be applied to everything that came after, from the Bronx fires in the 70s to a deadly high-rise fire in 2003. It's the same cycle over and over. Disaster, report, inaction.
Okay, so it sounds pretty bleak, right? But here's the crucial thing. It doesn't have to be this way. The investigation didn't just point out the problem. It also showed that there are clear, proven solutions that are already working in other big cities.
Let's just put these two systems side by side, because the difference is night and day. Chicago's current system is reactive. It waits for someone to complain. But cities like LA and Washington, D.C., they're proactive. They don't wait for the 311 call. They go out and do routine, scheduled inspections to find problems before they turn into tragedies. They use data to find the worst landlords, and they actually empower tenants with legal support.
So really, the path forward is pretty clear. Experts say it boils down to 3 key things. First, start doing proactive rental inspections. Stop waiting for the fire. Second, create an office for tenant advocacy to give renters a real voice. And third, strengthen the city's enforcement tools so that when they find a problem, they can actually force landlords to fix it.
And that brings us right back to where we started. The solutions are out there. The history is a clear warning. The human cost is it's undeniable. So the question that's left is the same one that's been asked after every tragic fire for the last 60 years. When will the old lessons finally be learned?